Here I'd like to make some additional points on ethnographic writing. I'll also briefly discuss ethnology, which is more comparative and theoretical than ethnography, and anthropological ethics. As noted earlier, the purpose of most ethnographic fieldwork is to write ethnographic accounts. Ethnographies are descriptive and analytical accounts of cultural and social practices based on fieldwork and other anthropological field techniques. To date, in this class, we've read a number of short ethnographic articles on various cultural aspects, including how the Hmong celebrate Christmas and how sex workers in the U.S. manage the complexities of life on the strolls. Ethnographies, or writings about a way of life, have treated a vast range of cultures from around the planet. Ethnographies describe cultural and social life in all kinds of ways. Here are just a few examples. Peter Redfield's Life in Crisis tells the story of the non-government medical organization Doctors Without Borders in its effort to save lives on a global scale. Redfield undertook extended research in multiple sites where Doctors Without Borders has operated, including conflict zones. He also pays considerable attention to ethical issues, which we'll touch on below. Elma Gottlieb's The Afterlife is Where We Come From focuses on culturally shaped motherhood and how the Beng people of Côte d'Ivoire and West Africa conceive of infants and how infants transition from the afterlife to this world. Gottlieb became interested in this topic after she gave birth to her son and began to think of motherhood and infanthood cross-culturally. Michael Moffat's Coming of Age in New Jersey looks at college life at Rutgers University as a culturally specific rite of passage. To complete his research, Moffat lived for a year in a freshman dorm. Napoleon Chagnon has undertaken research in the Amazon rainforest of Venezuela since the 1960s. This ethnography looks at the Yanomama people, their social organization, cultural practices, and how they manage conflict. Chagnon also examines renewed threats, medical, economic, environmental, and cultural, posed by external interventions in this previously remote region. Chagnon has been controversial over the years because of the way he portrays violence among the Yanomama. Together, these four ethnographies give you an inkling of the vast range of themes anthropologists have studied both at home and abroad. Let's look at a few more examples. Dutch medical anthropologist Claire Sturck undertook fieldwork on sex workers in New York and Atlanta during the era of crack and HIV/AIDS. In this module, you'll read a brief account of how she undertook her fieldwork and some of the ethical dilemmas it posed for her. Dr. Paul Farmer, an anthropologist and MD, has undertaken applied fieldwork in Haiti since the 1980s. In addition to creating hospitals for the rural Haitian poor and establishing the nonprofit Partners in Health, Farmer has written impassioned ethnographies about inequality and poverty in Haiti, as well as on his medical work. Brazilian anthropologist João Biel teaches at Princeton University and returns home to undertake fieldwork. He's published ethnographies of mental illness and AIDS. His books explore problems of marginalization and access to medical treatment among the Brazilian poor, as well as networks of care urban patients create in their struggles to survive. Ted Bester studies urban Japan and has published ethnographies on neighborhood life in Tokyo, as well as on the Tsukiji fish market. We'll encounter some of his work in this module. Bronislaw Malinowski, originally from Poland, was a founder of modern ethnographic fieldwork. His classic ethnography, Argonauts of the Western Pacific, provides a detailed account of inter-island exchange networks off the east coast of New Guinea. Malinowski spent several years undertaking fieldwork in the Trobriand Islands during World War I. Trichet Danielle Keaton teaches at Vanderbilt University. Her ethnographies explore issues of race, migrant politics, and Islam in France. Muslim Girls in the Other France explores issues of race, gender, and exclusion among Muslim girls from West and North Africa in the segregated suburbs of Paris. Jennifer Cole of the University of Chicago has worked extensively in Madagascar off the coast of East Africa. Her first book is a historical ethnography of colonial resistance, repression, and how that is remembered. More recently, she's published ethnographic studies of love, sex, and globalization in coastal Madagascar. Ruth Behar of the University of Michigan has undertaken ethnographic fieldwork in Spain and Morocco. She's been a leading voice in reflexive anthropology. In her book, Translated Woman, she focuses reflexively on her relationship with the Mexican woman Esperanza. Finally, Tom Bielsdorf of the University of California, Irvine has published ethnographies on gay life in Indonesia and has also undertaken participant observation research on the online virtual world Second Life as a thriving alternate universe. These are just a few examples of the wide array of fields cultural anthropologists study. Most ethnographies deal with a single society or cultural practice. Ethnology, on the other hand, refers to the analysis and comparison of ethnographic data across cultures. This data is used to help explore theoretical questions that emerge from multiple ethnographic accounts. Anthropologists don't use the term ethnology very much anymore, but still write books that focus on theory and comparison rather than single cultures. For example, Professor Peterson's book, Anthropology and Mass Communication, could be considered ethnology rather than ethnography. This book proposes a number of broad comparative approaches to the anthropology of media, including how anthropologists and others analyze media texts, how people produce and consume media in a number of cultures, and how media can be understood in the modern world system. This book also compares the way anthropologists study media in relation to scholars in other disciplines, including cultural studies, sociology, and mass communication. Let's turn briefly to the question of ethics in cultural anthropology, and especially in the field. Because we work with human beings who generously agree to assist us with our research, it's crucial that we respect these individuals and the communities where we work. If we're not ethical, we can potentially harm our informants. In some cases, it may be dangerous, for example, to talk about politics or deeply personal information, no matter how interesting it may be ethnographically. The American Anthropological Association has devised a lengthy statement on ethics as well as a number of cases from the field. Rather than review this lengthy document here, I want to cite Paul Cucci's 1998 book, Field Ethnography, a manual for doing cultural anthropology. Cucci makes two crucial points about ethics in relation to undergraduate fieldwork. First, the interests of the informant come before all other considerations, even getting a high grade on an assignment. The informant's desires concerning whether they get copies of your paper, whether they are to be named or their identities are hidden, and whether certain things you learn can be included in your paper are paramount. You are a guest on the scene. You have no rights vis-a-vis the informant's rights. Therefore, concentrate on the kinds of information that informants want known. Above all, do no harm. As Cucci puts it, the interests of our informants always come first. Second, anthropologists do not misrepresent themselves to informants, and they never hide their identities or their intentions. Scholars in certain other disciplines, under certain stated conditions, do mislead informants whom they label subjects. Our relation to our informants is that of students to teachers. They know their cultures. We go to learn those cultures. If you're doing your first observation in a public place, you do not need to announce yourself. How could you inform the crowd at a pro football game or a shopping mall that you're there to observe them? But if someone asks you why you're writing notes, you need to explain what you're up to. Also, if you're observing a small group of online gamers in action, for example, or a family dinner, you do need to ask permission and tell people what you're up to.